And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the PondCast episode number 79, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, SIVAP. With me, I'm joined by the topics, of course, and of course by Kuro handling the production. Welcome, one and all. I do apologize, by the way, if you do hear a difference in my voice, but I am using a different headset. Unfortunately, the cable on my previous headset looks like is dying on me, so I had to use a different headset instead. And for some reason, that has affected the mic quality as well. So yeah, do apologize if things are sounding a little bit different here. Hopefully in the near future we can get a replacement cable, but it's probably going to take some time, so just bear that in mind. So the sound, the audio, the casting might sound a little bit different for the next week or so. We'll see. But regardless, welcome one and all. Again, there's a lot to get into, a lot to go through here when it comes to our news, when it comes to our topics. Now, there are some things that we did actually decide to push back just because we had so much catching up to do over the past two editions of the podcast. But now we can finally catch up on some of the things that we did push back, like the RSL, the Rival StarCraft League After Dark Episode 8. So RSL did conclude last year, did conclude in December of 2025, if you recall, with the offline event. And we had both Gemini and Tasteless actually having a little discussion, kind of going over the year, going over their experiences. And honestly, it was quite fun. It was a fun little podcast where they mainly did speak on their experiences when it comes to their kind of nerves or anxiousness when it comes to creating a Patreon and running a tournament and trying to sell tickets and things from that side of things, of course, from the side of hosting, organizing, and the production side of tournaments, of a tournament like this. So it was definitely interesting to hear kind of from that perspective, with their experiences when it comes to their connections within the Korean scene as well, to be able to find a studio, a nice place to actually run and organize a studio, to be able to find a nice place when it comes to the venue as well, and when it comes to selling tickets and hosting the event and working with the Korean kind of studio broadcast team. It sounds like they were able to like bring in some outside talent. I think they brought in some from Canada to actually run the production side of things for the offline events. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting thing. They did leave things a little bit vague when it comes to the costing of a lot of things as well. This has always been the biggest criticism, I would say, of RSL, is kind of like the vagueness of kind of their budgetary side of things, and that continues coming into this as well. But for the most part, like I do kind of sense that like, they were still being quite genuine when it comes to how they were expressing themselves. They were speaking on again kind of like the costs of running things when it comes to an offline event, when it comes to what they were trying to pull off. They even did express maybe a little bit of regret when it comes to not doing this sooner, but I think we can all maybe relate to that a little bit, how they spoke on, or at least Taster spoke on, when they didn't believe that EWC would actually occur last year, and that's why they did it, and that's why they started the RSL. And technically they probably could have done this a lot sooner, but the fact that they believed that there was not going to be an EWC, that kind of urgency kind of pushed them into making and actually going forward with their Rival StarCraft League, which I think a lot of people can kind of like empathize with or recognize as well, is kind of like that pressure being on you being that like kind of like pushes you to like take a chance or take a risk or actually push forward with a project. So I kind of opened up a little bit about that, and yeah, it was definitely interesting to hear, for sure. I do wish that they did a little bit more of this sort of thing, and in general, like we'll see how they work on and how they improve the actual event itself. I think they did speak on things that they're going to be changing. One of the criticisms that I had was the length of the broadcast, and they brought it up as well, how their casting days were often quite short, like 2-hour casts, 1-hour casts. And we had always kind of like laid criticism on that, how few games and how short a lot of these casts were. They kind of went at it from a different perspective. They were saying like, oh, they would often get like Twitch front page, and they'd only get Twitch front page for like an hour, and it's and they're like, oh, like that's kind of like hurting us, sort of thing. So from that side of like their perspective, like they see kind of like the folly in having these shorter broadcast days. We were just straight up saying that they were just far too short. So hopefully they can organize and schedule things a little bit better. Of course, we have the next season of RSL that's going to be coming up, I think next month even. I think that's when the qualifiers are, in February. We'll be getting into that, of course.
I don't think anything is announced yet. We just have vague idea that it's coming soon.
Yeah, we have a vague idea of when it would be. They did mention how they kind of were a little bit rushed when it comes to condensing of the RSL last year because EWC was announced, so they had to like kind of squeeze everything in and make sure that they didn't overlap with any of the other big offline events. This year they should have a little bit more freedom when it comes to scheduling, and hopefully they're able to kind of fix up their scheduling. I would want when it comes to us criticizing the length of their broadcast, I again my big criticism would be, hey, you know, you got the money for it, hire a translator and get some interviews during the group stage, right? Even as early as the group stage, get some interviews going, and get some player cams going, and yeah, I mean, maybe even I would probably even say film content as well, just because we spoke about this previously, but take advantage of the fact that the majority of your players are centralized, right? It's difficult to kind of create content internationally because everyone is living all over the place in different countries and different regions. But here, everyone is in South Korea, so take advantage of that. Have players come into the studio every now and then to be able to ask or ponder. We did the same thing for ANZ Champs, if you remember. There were some times where we brought on like Oreo, or we brought on NXZ, like Ryan, just to like talk a little bit, even as a guest caster, or even just to probe his mind at the beginning of the broadcast before getting into the main event itself. There's a lot that can be done, and I feel like they're not reaching their full potential here. So I'm hoping that they're able to like try to tap into that at some point throughout the course of the year. I would imagine that this year is going to be a better year for them when it comes to RSL. Now they've kind of gone through their teething kind of phase of RSL, and now they can actually start to come into their own. So I hope they're able to do a little bit more with the broadcast themselves, because I feel like they have been lacking. But you know, best of luck. But best of luck to Tastes, to Gemini, to Ziggy, and States, and all those working behind the scenes. And again, I do recommend it. It was definitely a fun conversation. Definitely vague when it comes to certain aspects, but yeah, it was a fun listen nonetheless. So do check it out. Do check it out. Their kind of a year recap on the RSL. That leads us into the next massive bit of news here, and that is Archon Studio and the StarCraft Miniatures War Game. We did get a massive AMA. This was 11 days ago, so less than 2 weeks, but it was 11 days ago, and we got a lot of information in said AMA. What I do appreciate about the Archon Studio is kind of like the opposite of RSL, where RSL, they're often very vague, and we don't really know necessarily if they're taking feedback on board. Meanwhile, Archon Studios is the direct opposite. Very transparent. I mean, again, they've had multiple hour-long AMAs, just, you know, addressing questions from the community, from the chat, and speaking on that as well, and also kind of like even getting into the nitty-gritty details when it comes to the production side of things, when it comes to their thought process. When it comes to this AMA, they did open up in regards to the miniatures themselves. They showed, if you're curious about the visual, they showed off a lot of those miniatures at scale as well, discussing the different kind of varieties there are, different options you have when it comes to firing, when it comes to placement, when it comes to just the units or the miniatures themselves. There's even like more like aesthetic options instead of playable options that you can have, which I found very interesting. So you can kind of set up the miniatures however you want, if it's just for collection and display purposes or for practical gameplay purposes instead. So they did kind of discuss that a lot. They spoke about their production. They mainly did speak in the first half about kind of their playtesting phase, how they were still kind of ironing out the rule set, and they were opening up beta testing for the rules as well. So that was, I believe that should already be open by now, but towards the end of January, was when they were opening up kind of the open beta, where a bunch of participants, which you would have had to have signed up for, would be in the rules themselves. They would be sent the rules so then they can kind of go over that themselves. There'd also be miniatures being sent to a couple of players as well to be able to actually test, to be able to gather data, and to be able to make any last changes when it comes to how the game is playing out itself. So it's really cool to hear that, again, they're pushing forward with this. I think by now, I mean, we're getting towards the end of kind of that beta testing phase, as I was kind of nearing towards the end of January, and we're actually wrapping up January as we speak. So again, they were going through their beta testing phase. They also spoke about like their production as well. Everything is in-house. They spoke about how they should be able to avoid too many shipping costs when it comes to the Americas. They spoke about how they're actually importing to North America via Canada, just because it's cheaper to do so because of all the tariffs happening in the Americas. So they actually send it to Canada instead, and then from there they do distribute. So they spoke on on kind of like their warehousing and the distribution side of things. Likewise, they also spoke about like if shipping costs are becoming an issue for you on their store, if you do exceed a certain amount, and again, miniatures games can be quite expensive, but if you do exceed a certain amount when it comes to your cart, when it comes to how much you're buying, then they will actually have shipping be free. So that's another thing that they're going to be having as well. They spoke about how if you're a little bit concerned about maybe missing like the Zeratul limited like collection figurine, they spoke about how they're going to be going to some of the trade shows in the near future, and they're going to be able to have those available there. So don't be too concerned. Like there are going to be other chances, other opportunities to actually get these more unique models. So don't spend too much money when it comes
I
to people reselling and things of
yes.
that nature as well.
I would also like to point out that when the special miniatures are available at trade shows, at the same time they are available online. So even if you're not able
Yes,
to actually
yes.
go to the show, you can still get it at that time.
Exactly, and they even spoke about how like their production is on point. You don't have to be worried about scalpers or anything like that when it comes to their main product, just because they are creating an excess and they're not looking to actually limit their supply. But that is not the case for the limited like collection figurines, right? That is where you can be caught out. But that's why they emphasize like, hey, you know, if because there are a limited supply and because scalpers have been known and we've already seen that they've been buying them in bulk and reselling them after the fact, after that window has closed, that don't worry, there are going to be other windows, right? There are going to be other windows, other trade shows, other opportunities to get those more collectible items or those more unique models. So if that's something that you maybe missed out on, something that you want and you're looking for, you know, don't get too impatient and buy it like at a markup price on eBay when you could maybe like wait 1 or 2 months and then get it at a more reasonable price from Archon Studios instead. So they were kind of opening up about that as well. So yeah, I do recommend checking out the video itself when it comes to seeing all the figurines themselves. They also released a roadmap in regards to their release schedule. Very quickly, when it comes to pre-orders, I believe pre-orders are going to be they believe that at worst case scenario, pre-orders are going to be starting to send out in March, 10th of March sort of thing. But they should be earlier than that. It's like worst case scenario, end of March. Is when like pre-orders going to be available. Shipping will be in May, and they already have I should say kind of like I should say a staging ground, or I should say a roadmap. That's a roadmap when it comes to other releases they're going to be having. So in June, there's going to be Wave 1 of support for all three races with heavy support. Wave 2 is going to be in August with heroes and psionic units. We do have a narrative campaign that's going to be happening in between August and October at some point in there, like September-ish. October is going to be flying units, and December is going to be more hero units, and looks like classic ground units as well. So they have a vague roadmap. And this is what I mentioned in the previous time we spoke about the miniatures game, is that I feel like, especially if you're on a budget, I mean, I say that a lot of people that get into miniatures game have a lot of disposable income, so maybe it's not as applicable. But be very careful in the beginning, because if you're on a budget, if you want to be careful about how you're spending your money, you probably don't want to buy a maxed out army at launch. We spoke about how in this game there are supply caps, and you can technically, especially because initially they're going to be releasing a limited amount of units, you could try to buy a full maxed out army with the units that they release at launch. But there's going to be more units coming, right? There's going to be more units coming in June, August, October, December. So especially if you're on a budget, you're going to be hurting yourself if you buy too much too quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be maxed out on, say, Zerglings, on like tier 1, tier 2 units, when other tier units and other units are coming right around the corner. So just bear that in mind. If you do plan on competing, it might be a different story. They did actually open up about the fact that they will be running tournaments. They're going to be running tournaments, running events. They didn't explain, or they didn't go into detail as to like the regions or how that's going to be done, but tournaments are going to be run nonetheless. And they were even thinking about maybe creating some unique models as tournament prizes as well. Some unique models, some other kind of things to actually have as prizes outside of just pure prize money, as well as like trophies, for example, to have that for that competitive scene. But they are invested into running their own competitive kind of scene in the StarCraft miniatures game. which does sound really cool. Which does sound really cool. Also, just talking on that supply cap as well, there are games that you can play with a lower supply cap. So you can play games at 100 supply, or you can play games at 200 supply. So depending on how many units you have, depending on what you agree with your opponents, like you can play on a smaller supply cap instead, for a bit of a shorter game, and a shorter experience. But that's probably what you're going to be wanting to do, especially early on in the lifespan of this game, before we get too many other units, before you really round out your kind of army and round out what you're working with.
I feel like something important to point out is also that at launch there will be starter boxes, and the first starter box has enough models for a game of 2 people on a small army, essentially.
Yeah, I think we already spoke about the starter boxes previously, how it should be. I believe Terran and Zerg.
Yes, Terran and
are
Zerg,
part
and
of the
then
starter
Protoss
box.
will be separate.
Yeah, Protoss is going to be separate. They already spoke
But
on
now
that
we
a
know
couple
exactly
months
what's
ago.
in them.
Yeah, now we know what's in them. Another thing that they, for all the StarCraft fans out there, Pappy, they did say that Protoss is going to be the easiest race to play. So just like the, just like the RTS. Obviously they spoke about balance. When it comes to what race is easier, they explained that just like in regular SE2, for Protoss, there's going to be less units, so there's going to be kind of less units to manage yourself, and technically there are going to be less options for you as well. But the units themselves are going to be stronger to compensate for that. Again, each race does work differently. They explain that currently Protoss is the easiest to use, Zerg is in the middle, and Terran is the most difficult. Terran only because of the options that they have available. There's a lot more options when it comes to or tactical options when it comes to how to use your units, when it comes to different cards that are going to be available as well. So they kind of spoke about how that balancing act, of course, and how they're constructing each of the races a little bit differently. Creep is a thing for Zerg, so like the spreading creep mechanic is also a thing that's going to be available. Being able to proxy, being able to spawn in units from other locations for Terran is going to be a thing when it comes to proxy Raxes, when it comes to proxy buildings, when it comes to dropship mechanics as well. That's another reason why they're maybe a little bit more mobile. And it sounds really interesting, kind of how they're constructing all the races and how they're kind of bringing it all together. And depending on the price point, I'm 100% interested in playing this. I think I mentioned this last time, how I have other friends that are into wargaming quite heavily, and I might get into this as well. But it also depends, because again, miniatures games and war games can become quite expensive. But it does look really interesting when it comes to the models themselves. They even opened up about how they're going to be creating like custom models, and there are Zerglings with wings. There are Marines like with different armor sets as well. Like this is all things that we kind of already went over, right? But the idea of bringing in hybrid units, or like Tile de Rim skinned units, and even with different like abilities, or things like Primal Zerg as well. Like that's all like on the horizon when it comes to kind of how they want to make this game and how they want to incorporate other units. So it's going to be quite intense, going to be quite complex. And again, they go into greater detail when it comes to the rule set, when it comes to how all these units interact with each other. There's a lot. Like it's a very dense AMA, and I do highly recommend checking out all the AMAs that they've released so far. They're all on their YouTube channel, and there's a lot to get through. And as I mentioned before, very transparent when it comes to a lot of this.
Yeah, they are very transparent. I mean, I think it also helps that the guy doing the AMAs is the CEO of the company, so like he's literally the guy making the decisions here. And he also was talking a lot about an app that they are making for like the rules and like reporting scores. They currently are working on like the beta app for like more like reporting what is going on, to like to like tweak the rules and so on. But there will be also like an official app once the game is released as well. So that is something that's currently in the works.
Yeah, it's really cool that they're incorporating that. That is something that has been done with some of the more modern games. I know that for the modern XCOM board game, it also came with an app as well, which kind of helps when it comes to rules or how units work and just playing the game. It's something that is a bit of a newer kind of thing to board games, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they incorporate it here as well. Anything you can do to make this a little bit easier, of course. Like one of the big things about board games is always going through the rules and figuring everything out. Like spending an hour or two before you even get to play the game and going over the rules and figuring things out. Like that's kind of like a standard thing, especially when you're with a group of friends. But another thing very quickly as well that I think is really interesting. I can't remember if we spoke about this last time, if they had even elaborated on it. But what makes this a little bit different is typically a StarCraft miniatures game is relatively short. I say relatively short. I think a 100 cap supply game is like an hour and a half to play. And like a maxed out game is like 2, maybe 2.5 hours instead. And I say that's relatively short. If you know anything about Warhammer 40k, games can last a very, very long time. But a lot of that time spent playing Warhammer is in the kind of is in the deployment phase, right? If you know anything, like the deployment phase is in Warhammer, you lay out your entire army at once, and I want to say you typically take turns, kind of like deploying your forces and setting up your army and setting up your positions, and that can take like an hour. Like that can take like an hour to deploy, especially if you're working with more capped like point armies. It takes a long time for both players to actually deploy everything before they even get to play the game, like an hour of that. For StarCraft, you don't have that deployment set up at the start of the game. Throughout the course of the game itself, every turn you're able to spend supply, you're able to morph in, warp in your units. So that early deployment phase is not a part of the StarCraft miniatures game. So because that, it's a lot faster to get into, to get going, and then to play the game itself, just because there's less setup there. Obviously, you still have to set up the board and the terrain. That is true. That's a lot faster compared to the deployment phase, like in Warhammer, for example. Also, like they've simplified the dice rolling as well. If you know anything about Warhammer, again, it's unironic. They have a massive bucket of dice, and you roll like a bunch of dice at the start of the game as well, for all your turns, for your attacks. In StarCraft, in the StarCraft miniatures game, they're only using D6s. They're not going to complicate things with like D20s or D10s or D8s or anything like that. They're going to be simplifying it down to everything just uses D6s, just because that's more accessible. Most likely, if you're out there, if you're playing D&D, if you're playing other games, you probably already have a bunch of D6s already, so that does help with that sort of thing. And it also just helps kind of like streamline everything a little bit.
Yeah, D6s are also generally the most common for like all sorts of games, not only like D&D or like tabletop games, but like just in general games. So they're the most accessible. Like everybody can buy a pack and just have them. Yeah,
for sure. So everything's going to be a little bit more streamlined with your D6s, and yeah, they kind of went into that. They also spoke about how this is going to be a bit of a more mobile miniatures game experience instead of there's a little more movements going on, I should emphasize. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting. They kind of hyped it up as being one of the more unique miniature war games out there compared to what we're kind of used to. So yeah, really interesting to hear, and I'd love to eventually get into it. It's also very daunting. They kind of went into a little bit more into detail when it comes to the models themselves. Painting models is going to be a big thing. Like I don't even know if I'd be able to.
This is what I'm looking forward to. Getting just a pack of Zerglings and just painting Zerglings, and it will all go horribly because I've never done this before.
Yeah. I've painted a set of Marines before, Warhammer Marines, and typically you have your primer. So you, depending on the shade that you're going for, you want to like spray them all initially with like black or white or silver or gray first. So you spray them all down. You have to like wait like a day or so for it all to set and for it to dry, and then you go in with like the coat of paint that you're going for, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole process depending on how you set up your spray. Like you mark your table and it's forever. It's
oh yeah. On that note, as a fun fact, the Terran units come like by default they come in blue. The Zerg units come in purple, and the Protoss units come in yellow. So that's like your base if you're interested.
Yeah, and of course, as I mentioned, like there's no. If you just want to buy this just to play the game, like you don't have to paint your models. You can just construct them and you're good to go. As with all war games, to be fair, and we don't have to paint them. But that is another kind of like layer or aspect to it, especially if you're just getting it for collection purposes. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's cool. You know, this year, big year for StarCraft with the miniatures game coming out. Of course, they spoke about the future of that with, you know, what comes next. One of the, funnily enough, one of the questions from the chat was asking about like Carbots, like miniatures, and they were like, hey, you know, if if Blizzard approve, if Carbot want to work with us, then they might. They probably wouldn't make like a full set of Carbot units, but like maybe some like limited edition like collector sets of like the Zergling, the Marine, the Zealot. Like that's something they'd be interested in maybe doing, or even just having that as awards or for like winning tournaments or winning events and stuff like that as well. Like little things like that, and then they're open to working with that for sure. They're open to it, if that goes through. But yeah, it's very in depth. There's a lot to get into, and do recommend it. Do recommend it. So. 1 hour sounds optimistic for a game like this. I said an hour. If I did, I kind of misspoke. An hour and a half for a 100 supply game, like an hour and a half, like for a game. For a max out 200 supply game, like 2.5 hours is kind of like the average that they're looking at.
Also, important note, they don't actually use like 200, 100 supply. It's 1,000 point army.
Yeah.
And the full one is 2,000 point army. What you see, as I show it on screen, what you see in the starter box is 2 1,000 point armies. So that's around the size you're looking at.
Yeah. See chat. I meant for reading the rulebook. True. It's always the case when you get together with friends to read the rules of a new board game, or even to like play D&D and like character creation. Like that's like 2-3 hours. Like set up make your characters and stuff like that. Like it's.
Hey, do you actually make characters during the session? Not like 2 weeks ahead, so like everybody has 2 weeks to like make the character.
There's always someone that arrives and like, okay, let's make a character. It's like let's go. Aye. But yeah, definitely exciting. Definitely something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to it as well. Obviously, price is going to be like a big part of this, but even just for like collection purposes, like I wouldn't mind, just sitting down one afternoon, just like painting one singular Marine, and messing it up. But it'll be my Marines. It's like it'll be fine. But yeah. So definitely look forward to it. Again, the roadmap has been laid out before us, and it's coming in this year. This year, we will have our StarCraft miniatures game. Meanwhile, that leads us into HomeStory Cup.
Before that, a quick note: if anybody of you is currently in Nuremberg or close to, there is also a what is it called? A trade show.
Trade show.
There's an event currently happening at Spielwarenmesse 2026, and they also have their stand there, and they also have some StarCraft TMG stuff there. So if you are interested, then do check it out.
Yeah, it's currently ongoing from the 27th to the 31st of January. So for the next couple of days until the weekend or the end of the weekend, you can head to that event.
Nuremberg is in Germany, right? They should make a cooperation with HomeStory Cup. They're both in Germany. They're probably on the other side of the country. I think Krefeld is quite far from Nuremberg. But hey.
Unironically, they should.
See, you know what they do? Because this ends on 31st, so they just pack up and they just go to Krefeld like on the 31st.
Well, like honestly, it might be too late, but like. Again, Archon Studios, they sponsored RSL. They should know about HomeStory Cup. HomeStory Cup is known for like after hours, like late night poker games. Like imagine if they stream, because they've streamed their poker before. If they streamed after hours, late nights StarCraft miniatures, like they totally could. They'd be down for it as well.
Hold on, I'm gonna type to write on their Discord. They type to message Take. I'm sure Take will be into it as well. I mean, he's running a gaming bar. He would like to have that, probably.
Yeah. Like it's something that, it makes sense. Like it should be happening. Unfortunately, I don't know if it will. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're in contact. But it's something that should be going on.
They said they want to do it, but I think they may be waiting for the release to do it. But it would be really cool if they did it sooner.
Yeah, for sure. I guarantee you that if they did, a bunch of those miniatures would be broken by the end of the night. But it's part of the fun, and it's
that's,
something.
that's the one problem, and they may not like that because I know that like
uh,
they said like they were also saying that like, oh, like we're going to the next trade show, we have to like paint a bunch of miniatures because they have to be presented and stuff. So like I think they like there's a lot more work put into like displaying all of this. So I don't know.
mean, I would have them play with the plain figures, not with the painted ones. To be fair, like I would not.
Yes, I do
I
agree.
I would not give a bunch of people that have been drinking all weekend, like
No,
some
see,
like
you know what?
priceless, well like constructed point, like
You take a
painted, like,
box, you
miniatures.
take a box of unassembled ones, and you tell all those people at the bar to assemble them as part of an activity.
Yeah, exactly. Time them.
See
Get a
how well they
stopwatch,
can do
time
it.
how fast and how well can they construct those miniatures. True. But it's a missed opportunity if they're not able to do anything with it. Just because it's happening in Germany, big week, big tournament, big weekend here for HomeStory Cup. So regardless, speaking of HomeStory Cup number 28 is going to be this weekend from the 30th to the 1st to 30th of January to the 1st of February. So it is going to be a big weekend here of StarCraft. We mentioned this previously, but maybe if you haven't tuned in before, we have been the B stream for HomeStory Cup for like the past like 5 editions. It's been a couple of years that we have been the official B stream. Unfortunately, this is going to be the first time in a long time where we will not be the B stream. So we do apologize. We did mention this previously, but there's a reason why January has been very lean for us when it comes to casting. I've been unavailable. There have been some medical issues when it comes to my pet bunnies. There's been a lot of vet visits throughout the course of the entire month. A lot of vet visits, a lot of like care, a lot of I should say care, a lot of overlooking and just taking care and just making sure that they're okay. So I just have not been able to cast much. That will be the case this weekend as well. I'm unavailable to cast. For those who are curious, my pet bunny Chi-Chi, she's actually right now at a vet hospital. She's currently recovering from surgery, and she's going to be recovering over the course of the weekend, and I have to be there for her. Right, I have to be there for her, make sure she's okay, make sure she's eating, make sure that nothing goes wrong, and yeah, because of that, we'll not be able to cast HomeStory Cup. So it's a bit of a shame. We will try to catch up with via replays. It's not going to be the same, but replays are going to be available at some point. So over the next couple of weeks, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, we can go over the replays and catch up. Again, just because of all those issues that we've had here in January, we've had a lot of missed casting, so we have to catch up on Rongyi Cup, we have to catch up on Thunderfire, and we have to catch up on HomeStory Cup. So there's a lot of replays, and all the weeks that we missed on PondCast Cup and Water TV Mondays. There's just a lot of events that we've missed out on, and I do intend on catching up on all of them, but it has created a big backlog, so it'll take a while for us to catch up on everything. Like a solid month or two, to get through all the replays for Rongyi, for Thunderfire, for HomeStory Cup, for PondCast Cup, Water TV Mondays, like everything. We'll get there eventually, but again, throughout the course of February and March, it'll be a couple of catch-up months, alongside all of our regular casting as well. So we'll do our best. We'll do our best to catch up. But when it comes to the event itself, we can have a look at the group stage. The groups have been confirmed. We have four groups in total. Top 2 of each group do make it through to the playoffs. A lot of matches. We have 3 matches happening at once. That's why we typically have in the B stream, so that something always gets casted, of course. Group A is going to be Xian, Lambo, Nightmare, Euthermal, Geralt, and Kellizer. Let's go. Okay, we got 3 Protoss, 2 Terran, and 1 Zerg. Coming into this, there are going to be a lot of high expectations here for Xian and Lambo. In my mind, those are the top 2 players here. Nightmare, he has been very MIA, very inactive over the past couple of weeks. Euthermal is a wild card, and he has been doing surprisingly well in 1v1 tournaments in recent times. So Euthermal, he can always cause upsets. And Geralt, he's also a strong player as well. He can also cause upsets. He is also in form. Kellizer is more of a dark horse. Kellizer has also been very inactive, very, very inactive. So we don't really expect too much from Kellizer. I will say that Xian and Lambo are favored in Group A, but I can see Euthermal and Geralt causing upsets, and maybe even Nightmare as well. Maybe even Nightmare to shake some things up. Meanwhile, that leads us into Group B. Group B, we have several Ryung, SOS Mana for Jumi, and Holy Hit. That's a lot of Protoss. We got 4 Protoss, 1 Terran, and 1 Zerg. So we have a little bit of diversity here. Coming into this group, Serral is the heavy favorite. I would say that Ryung is up there alongside Serral when it comes to the top 2 for the group. But I can see players like Mana and for Jumi causing upsets for the most part. Like SOS maybe can threaten a little bit, but I haven't really been too impressed by SOS over the past year, over the past 2 years. But Mana and Fujimi, they can bring Ryung down. I think I still lean a little bit more towards Ryung, but Mana and Jumi can definitely shake things up, as Cyril's kind of like the sure thing. Group C, we have Clem, Hero Marine, Harstem, Laser, Fjand, and Christianer. Oh, okay. Coming into this on paper, I would say that Clem and Gabe are the top two. Clem and Gabe are the top two players here for this group. But I would say, is this the group of death? So far, at least. I would say that out of all the groups so far, Group C has the most potential here for some upsets and has a lot of players that can really vie for second place. Harstem, I would say he's a bit of a step below someone like Big Gabe, but he does have some upset potential. He has a lot of unique builds. Like Harstem, he can definitely bring his A game and cause some upsets. Christianer, I would say he has been on fire over the past couple of months, if not year of play. Like Christianer, he can kind of like take down Harstem, Laser, Gabe as well. Like Christianer, if he's in form, if he's on point. Also, I think this is the first HomeStory Cup that he's going to. Right, Kuro? I think historically, Christianer, he's rarely traveled to compete outside of Poland. In recent times, that was not the case with Star Zagora. If you remember, Christianer, he traveled to Bulgaria. He competed in Star Zagora, that was like one of his first international events, right? Like he's not really one to travel. Am I remembering correctly, Copa?
I'm looking it up because I honestly have no idea.
I think this is his first HomeStory Cup.
Let's see.
I know Geralt's been to a bunch of them.
He's playing so many matches. Has he been in previous HomeStory, maybe?
I don't believe he has.
Oh, there's so many matches. I don't think I will be. Hold on, let's look up HomeStory. HomeStory Cup. Shout out to Liquipedia, by the way. He wasn't on previous HomeStory, at least.
Yeah, I know. 27, he wasn't there. 26, he wasn't there. 25, he wasn't there. 23, he wasn't there. Yep, 20.
Yeah, I don't think he's been traveling. I mean, he's still fairly young, so before that, like, it was more of about an age thing.
21. 21, he was invited but didn't go. Yeah. So Cristiano, this is his first HomeStory Cup. There you go. He was invited. It wasn't an age thing. He was invited back in HomeStory Cup 21. That was back in 2022. But he did not go due to health issues, apparently. So apparently there were some health issues. So Cristiano did not actually travel. So this is going to be his first HomeStory Cup. Okay. And I do have a lot of high hopes and high expectations for Cristiano. It's still going to be a tough group. It's still only top two. Like Clem and Gabe are the top two players here. But Harstem, Cristiano, and Laser can definitely actually vie for top two. Laser's also been looking very strong as of late. Alasia took a really long hiatus and break from StarCraft, but recently has been competing a lot and has been getting some damn good results. So yeah, Group C definitely has, I would say, is the closest one so far. That leads us into Group D. Group D here we have we have Rainer surrounded by Protoss. Remember what Rainer said last time at RSL? He was like, I don't want to see a Protoss for like another 2 months. No, he's surrounded by Protoss, baby. We got Rainer, Showtime, Trigger, Skillus, Baby Marine, and Letalix. This is actually going to be another really close group, actually. Both Group C and Group D. I would say that Group D is going to be very close, but it's a little bit less interesting because there's a lot of PvPs. Like, there's a lot of mirror matchups in Group D compared to Group C. Group C, there's only 2 Protoss. Group D, there's 4. So in this group, I would say that Rainer's the favorite player. Probably Rainer and maybe Showtime, but I would say that right now, Skillus, Trigger, and Showtime are very close in skill. Like, I could see them taking each other out. Like it's going to be a very hard one to call. I would say for a lot of these other groups, like there was more of a delineation between the top 2, but here again, top 2 in my mind is like a blurred line between Showtime, Trigger, and Skillus. Like they're very close in skill. Like any one of them can make it through alongside Rainer. It's going to come down to who has the best PvP. Who has the best PvP. And I think I might even say that Trigger. Like Trigger, didn't he beat like Max 3 times in the last 2 weeks? Like Trigger, he has popped off. Like Max has had a very hard time against Trigger over the past couple of weeks. So Trigger's PvP has been looking insane. best of luck. Best of luck to everyone involved. Again, it's going to be a really fun group stage. A lot of players, a lot of groups, massive groups as well. And top 2 make it through into the playoffs. Let's go. Let's go. Who beat Clem recently, upsettingly? Oh god, was it... Trigger beat Clem, but that was a couple of months ago. If you mean in recent times... we might be getting into that in this week's tournament. Let's see here. No, yeah, I would say the recent. I'm just quickly checking Clem's history. His recent upsets has been against Trigger. So it was Trigger versus Clem in the beginning of January, January 6th. January 6th was when Trigger did beat Clem. Outside of that, typically it's like Hero or Rainer or Classic beating Clem. And Trigger, he has been knocking him down. As they're avoiding each other here. True. But yeah, it's going to be a really intense weekend. Do recommend it. Again, I most likely will not be watching it just because we're going to be casting the matches themselves after the fact. And I'm going to be looking after my bunnies as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But regardless, do enjoy the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. As that leads us into our weekly tournaments, that leads us into our initial modded tournament, the Patch Clash Showdown number 1. Patches have been running so many different events here, and he has to come up with a bunch of different names. He's had the Patches Patch Clash, he's had the main event, he's had the 4.5k event, he's had the Invitational as well, and looks like here we have a bunch of show matches. Okay. So again, this is all played on his unique mod, on a unique version of StarCraft. Here we had a best of 5 between Pi and Beast, and a best of 5 between Inexorable and Akedon. Okay. Beast takes down Pi 3-1, and Inexorable takes down Akedon 3-0. So GG well played. I didn't know that Pi was a bit of a connoisseur of Patches tournaments. So really cool to see Pi competing there. Did take a map off of Beast, but for the most part, Beast and Inexorable were a little bit more favored here in these matches. They do claim the win. GG. GG well played. I'm curious as to the purpose of this. Like, I'm curious if maybe Patches, if there's like a history between these players and why there are show matches between them, or if Patches just wanted to see specific matchups and specific like TVP or PVZ for his mod for balance purposes. But regardless, GG. GG well played. Shout out to Patches for hosting the event. Congratulations to both Inexorable and Beast for walking away with the prize money. GG. GG well played. Oh, hold on. As actually something more important than that we should actually point out is Patches apparently made a tool in StarCraft.
So yeah, Patches is currently working on a StarCraft mod. Important to say that this is a mod, so this is like a special thing on top of the game, like you have a special launcher for it, but basically it's a mod that lets you actually like launch all the mods, launch all the arcade maps, launch all the maps, and you can update them like without uploading them directly to the Blizzard servers, because as we know, publishing is still disabled and we still have no information when that will be available again. So to kind of like, you know, work around that, Patches is actually working on a mod that will allow you to use those things to like update those mods until, you know, the point that they can be published to everyone.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that works. Like how, like, multiplayer wise, like locally it makes sense in my mind, but to be able to do this and have other people join and play, and if I remember, I think this was tied into the show matches. I think the show matches were done using like this tool as well. It looks like Dave was actually casting those events and using the tool as well to help cast. So yeah, I'm curious how that actually works. Interesting, really interesting to see Patches work on this, and this might even be crucial because I believe TLMC is around the corner. Like I believe for TLMC, like that should be coming up in the next like couple of months. The next Team Liquid map contest, and I do know that like I think Wax and maybe the TL account has permission to update and upload maps as well onto the arcade. But like still for testing purposes, I'm sure map makers, they would appreciate a tool like this to be able to actually have people like try and test their mods and their maps. So yeah, shout out to Patches for making the tool. Meanwhile, that leads us into our Amateur League Weeklies. Amateur League Weekly number 148. Okay, this is again a weekly tournament for all different leagues, all different ranges of MMR, taking place on a very regular tournament on a weekly basis. Let's go. Let us go. First, we do have the Initiate League Weekly. We do have the Bronze to Platinum. Here we had 5 players duking it out. We had Jackals, we had Lucid Shadow, Prince Sizor, X-Decker, Dollar Tree Dipper as well. Okay, players I'm not very familiar with, but Jackals, he does make it through all the way to the finals, takes down Lucid Shadow 2-1, takes down X-Decker 2-1 as well, but he actually falls in the rematch against X-Decker in the finals, 3-1. Again, a bunch of players that I believe are newcomers. I don't think I've seen X-Decker or Jackals or Lucid Shadow before, or even Prince Sizor. The only player that I'm familiar with here is Dollar Tree Dipper, so a bunch of new faces. I appreciate it. Really cool to see a bunch of new faces, and congratulations to our initial champion. Congratulations to X-Decker. That leads us into the Veteran Edition. This is for Diamond 3 and Diamond 2, so the next level up. Here, this is where we have our regulars. We had Sugar Colt II, we had Pretty Fly, Barks, Sewer Badger as well, so Old Lady, so a bunch of regulars. Even see Wishu, is he Polish? Has he played in our tournaments? I recognize the name. But
he has not played in our tournaments, but he has been appearing in these ones regularly, yes.
Okay. But yes. Here we did have Silver Badger. Silver Badger takes down Barks, Wishu, and Sugar Colt II 2-1 in the upper bracket finals, but actually does fall in the rematch. We have a bit of a trend here. So far in both tournaments, we have the initial player coming into the grand finals actually losing in the rematch series instead. Happened in the initial Bronze to Platinum, and now happening here as well in the Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. As Sugar Colt II comes out on top, 3-1. GG.
Speaking of, Sugarcoat is confirming in the chat that yes, he is Polish and he is from the Void community.
Yeah, see, I know my Polish names.
In case you're wondering how you read it in Polish, it's Wziu. You're welcome.
Wziu, yeah, that's it. Wziu.
It's actually an onomatopoeia, so there you go.
I think the only reason why I recognize that name as Polish is because I was thinking of Mishu. Is Mishu another Polish player, right?
Yes, Mishu is also Polish, yes.
Yeah, I think that's what my brain was thinking of. But up next, we do have our Prestige Weekly for Diamond 1 to Masters 2. Oh boy, so this is usually one of the more populated and popular weeklies here when it comes to the Amateur League. Once again, we have a lot of our regulars. I see Blade of Fire, I see Beast, I see Darkblade, Defiance, Steez, Boreal, Set. There's one player that I have not seen before, that is Ophthalmologist, not Ophthalmologist, but Ophthalmologist. Momologist. Okay, lovely. It's October. But yeah, I don't think I've seen him here before, so he might be a first timer. He does get knocked out does make it into the top 4, so congratulations. Meanwhile, we had Beast. Oh, actually taking the entire thing. Beast takes down Set, takes down Oct, takes down Darkblade, and even defeats Darkblade in the rematch, breaking the curse here, and doesn't drop a single map actually. Very impressive. Not a single map was dropped. 2 zeros and 3 zeros all around. The dominant performance out of Beast. GG all played. That leads us into the final edition. That leads us into the Elite edition of the Amateur League Weekly, Masters 1 to GM. Here we only had 3 players. We had Sexy Fox, Hatsu, and Nickrat. In the end, Nickrat does claim the win, 2-0 over Sexy Fox and 3-0 over Hatsu. We did mention this previously, but one of the reasons why the GM edition is less populated is because there's no prize pool. There's no prize money for these tournaments. Only points that you accumulate over the course of the season, and then you get invited into a tournament that does have a prize pool. But it's a big investment to kind of get into that, and as a result, we don't really get many players. We get some players like maybe Nickrat, maybe some of the other Italian Protosses as well do dip their toes in, but yeah, not too popular here amongst the pros. But GG, well played. Congratulations to our Amateur League winners and Amateur League champions. That leads us into the Thermal 2v2 Circuit Bonus Cup number 2. This did happen a couple of days ago, actually. We did have another Bonus Cup, so congratulations. We once again had some interesting pairings here. We had Spazzy Mazzy and Akero, and I don't think I've seen them pair up before. Cyril and Lambo. I haven't seen that pairing either. Cyril is usually playing with Ziggylang. Oh, and Lambo's usually with like Showtime or something. So an interesting duo here as they did a pair up. We had Mini Zerg and Death Mars this time. Oh, they got knocked out early on in the rematch against Thermal and Goblin. Okay, they got their revenge. We had Rung and Shin showing up again. We had a new pairing of Young Yakov and Percival. Oh, the OSC Rising Star boys. Okay. Young Yakov and Percival, interesting that they actually joined forces here. I feel like there's sometimes some tension between the two of them just because they compete so often with each other. Like they play against each other so often, but two rivals, they join forces here. Okay. We had Lemon and Deer, we had Gamer Richie and Nico, we had Nick Wright and Geralt, Creator and Björn. I think, is that a new pairing? Did Creator and Björn play together last time? Let me just quickly double check.
I think last time it was Björn and Solar, no?
Ryung and Shin, it was... I believe it was Björn and Solar. No, sorry. Last week it was Björn and Lambo. So it's Björn and Lambo last time, and I believe before that it was Björn and Solar. So Björn is just hopping around all the players.
But you know what? That's kind of the spirit of this tournament, because you earn points individually, so you can switch, partners as much as you want.
Yeah, and there it is. So Solar and Björn actually won the January monthly tournament together. They won the entire thing, but it looks like Solar wasn't available, right? Like I don't see Solar here. So Björn looks like he found another partner and did pair up with Creator. I know they're both very good friends. They're both mountain boys, of course. And when it comes to the results themselves, what did we actually see here? So Alazer and Harstem, another new pairing, by the way. Usually it's Alazer and Skillus. It's usually Alazer and Skillus. They're the TL boys, but Lazer's no longer in TL. And Harstem is usually playing with Lambo. So yeah, so I wonder who broke up with who. Did Harstem break up with Lambo, or did Lambo break up with Harstem? Yeah. What? Now this is pure speculation. In my mind, Lambo broke up with Harstem because I feel like Harstem wouldn't abandon. He's loyal, okay?
No. This is where you write your K drama, where like Serral gives an offer to Lambo, and Lambo is like, well, I could reject it, but it's Serral, and like
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking, because again, like I'm not saying that like Harstem and Lambo are not a happy couple. Like no, harambo. Like there's a lot of love there, There's a lot of history between those two people, 100%. But like when you got Serral, like the temptation of Serral is too strong. It's too strong. Like if Serral goes up to Lambo, I don't think Lambo can refuse. I'm sorry. Harstem. There's only so much that relationship can really withstand. Because you're Protoss.
Like, and then you have the great comeback story where Serral and Lambo lose first round, and Alazer and Harstem actually win it. Because it doesn't actually matter if you play with Serral.
What the thing that happened here, this is the drama, is that Lambo abandoned and he left Harstem at the altar to run off with Serral, and they like died in a plane crash, like on their way to they died. They're out early on, and as Harstem was left there on the altar, you had Alazer stepping in. Alazer was Lambo's best man, and he steps in, takes Harstem's hand, and they win the entire tournament. That's crazy. That's insane. They found true love. Like again, for how long? For how many years was Alazer with Skillus? Right? Where's Nikita? What happened to Nikita? True. There's layers to what's been going on here.
Was Skillus helping Sarah? Is that what happened?
Yeah, what happened? No, did Skillus run off with Zhugelang? Is that what? Is that where it began? Is that what started everything? Where's Zhugelang? True. Where's Skillus? But Alazer and Harstem, they're an unlikely pairing because Harstem's usually playing with Lambo. Alazer's usually playing with Skillus. Skillus isn't here. Zhugelang isn't here. Lambo left Harstem for Serral, and Alazer got stuck with Harstem, and they found true love. They found like some kind of chemistry clicked. Something clicked between Alazer and Harstem. The Pandora's box has been opened, and now they're never going to leave each other again. And Lambo's worse off for it, That's what you get. That's what you get for leaving Harstem. Because now he found someone better. Oh, no. Oh no. But yeah, I mean, we kind of went over it. But Malaysian Hearthstone, they took down Spazzy and Akeron 2-0. They took down Shameless and GG Machine 2-1. And they took down Beyond and Creator 3-0. Congratulations to Malaysian Hearthstone. Again, this is the first time they played together because typically they have other pairings. Even in the past when we didn't see Lambo with Hearthstone, we've seen Lambo with Showtime. We've seen Hearthstone with Showtime as well. I think we might have seen like a Hearthstone Beyond pairing at some point. But yeah, really cool to see Hearthstone and Laser doing well together. GG. GG. Oh my god. Drama and Zerg tears. Yes. Ah, no. ZZ is not ideal for 2v2. You say that. We've had double Zerg pairings actually do well. Again, Cyril and Zhuge like they have had some deep runs as double Zerg. To be fair, Cyril, he has played Protoss at times with Zhuge, but at other times they've played double Zerg and they've done well for themselves. I want to say there was another double Zerg pairing that did well previously. Yeah, I'm thinking of Cyril and Zhuge. Yeah. They beat Trigger and Clem in the January monthly. So you're right. Historically, double Zerg doesn't do well, but Cyril and Zhuge they made it to the semifinals last time, and they took a map of a Skillus and a Laser. So they've kind of like broken that like stereotype and broken that mold. But Lambo's not Zhuge is what we found out. Is what we found out today. True. Yeah. Some other important things to take note of here, of course, is that Cyril and Lambo, they went down to Shameless and GG Machine. Shameless and GG Machine, they're one of the best 2v2 duos in the world, straight up. Like, they are one of the best. There's a reason why they took down Euthermal and Goblin, the homies, 2-0, and why they took a map off of Malaysia and Hearthstone. And honestly, I would have favored Shameless and GG Machine to win the entire event, to win the entire tournament here, but they went down to Malaysia and Hearthstone, who went on to win the entire thing. Meanwhile, Ryung and Shin went down early on as well. That is a surprise. Ryung and Shin, they performed insanely well in previous weeks and in previous tournaments, so they went down early. Young Yaku and Percival, also just a really fun pairing, but they did go down to Creator and Beyond, who of course did fall to Malaysia and Hearthstone. GG. Oh. GG. Z-Pair, as far as I know, is the best. That is not true. I think the consensus is Terran and Protoss. If you're unfamiliar with TVP, the best duo in the world is Max Pax and Spirit. They're Terran and Protoss, and for a long time, the second best was Trigger and Clem, which is also Terran and Protoss. Just because of how Mech and Skytoss do work together in the late game. But even not just their late game prowess, but their early game harass is also really strong with both Oracles and Reaper Hellion. So early game pressure, mid game aggression, and late game defensiveness, like TNP, like Terran and Protoss duos traditionally or typically are a little bit more favored. Obviously, what I really do appreciate though in recent weeks and in recent months is that because we've seen so much more 2v2 competitive 2v2 than we have in the history of StarCraft, the meta has been changing. Like straight up, the meta has been changing, the meta has been shifting. I mentioned earlier how Cyril and Zhuge did really well for themselves, and they outperformed more than anyone expected them to as double Zerg, and that's because they were playing a little more active. They were playing very muta heavy as well. They've been exploring double Zerg a little bit more, again, more than we've seen in the history of straight up StarCraft 2 in like over 10 years, right? Like, because we're seeing a little more competitive 2v2, we've been seeing a little more exploration as to dynamics and play styles and builds as well. So 2v2 has been evolving over the past, I want to say, 6 months. So some of the things that we kind of like understood about 2v2 are changing a little bit, just as players are investing more time into 2v2 and finding more things as well, which is really cool. So I do recommend tuning in. I do recommend checking it out. But that leads us into our regional events and show matches. Okay, up first we have the Rookie Family Cup number 2. Once again, I believe another Chinese tournament. Oh my god. Full of players that I'm not very familiar with. I do know Pimba, I am familiar with, but some of the others are less so here. I see Drink, I see Ear, I see Latte. Okay. These are more of the amateur players. Players from Astartes, players from PCEC, players from Rookie Warp Gates, Four Leaf Clover, Little Fairy. There are some notables sprinkled in, but for the most part, this is a more amateur league full of 4v4s. Let's go. So 4v4s all around. I do love to see it. In the end, we did have a team with P. Imba leading the charge alongside his 3 other teammates, winning 4-1 in the finals. Again, a lot of these teams full of amateur players that I'm not very familiar with. We even have some barcodes in the mix as well, so I can't really say with certainty like who would have been favored or not in this tournament. 4v4 is not the most balanced of game modes, but we have been seeing a lot more 4v4, 3v3, and 2v2 as of late. GG, well played, well played. Congratulations to our winning team, to our winning 4v4 team. Let's go. That leads us into the Chain of Ascension Cup. Oh, okay. Not a tournament that I'm too familiar with here. Has been running all month. We did cover the group stage earlier, but that led us into the Chain of Ascension stage, if you will. Okay. Here we basically had a bunch of quote-unquote show matches or a bunch of 1v1s. Again, full of up-and-coming players. We did kind of mention this previously, but this is full of more amateur up-and-coming players, not your established pros. So players like Silky, Lemon, Jim, Sugwa, for example, like all these guys. Tsukino, right? Tsukino, Millennium Fox, they're not quite going to be competing in this. Nanyu, true, Nanyu. This is more of the amateur up-and-coming players instead, and congratulations to Wanya and some of the other Chinese characters that I can't quite pronounce, but GG well played. Again, there's just a lot of grassroots events happening in the Chinese region and the Chinese scene. This is also why we do often bring up the fact that the Chinese region is kind of like the most active and populated and popular compared to any other region out there, because there's so many events like this. Like, hey, we just went over like a 4v4 tournament that they were hosting. There's this event for, again, purely amateur players. Up next, we have another event. We have the Chicken King tournament, or Chicken King Cup number 8. This is for more established players, by the way. Previously we did go over the groups, and now the groups have concluded. Here we had Group A. We had Kingslayer alongside another Terran advanced on. I was favoring Oriana. Oriana does not make it out of the group stage. Instead, we have Kingslayer and a player that I'm very unfamiliar with. Hold on. Maybe I should start familiarizing myself with Sarah Kerrigan. Sarah Kerrigan as Terran. Okay, this is pre Queen of Blades. True. So you have Kingslayer and Sarah Kerrigan.
At least it's accurate. She's not Zerg. She's Terran.
Yeah, exactly. Group B, we had Jolly Loves, and is that Nanyu? I believe that's Nanyu. Let's see. No, sorry, that's Shafei. Okay, that is not a player that I recognized. Hold on. Oh, it's Anami. God damn it. One of these days, can we standardize like Romanized names, please? Like, why do we keep switching? What's going on? That is Nanami Chiaki alongside Jolua Loves. Yep, makes sense. They do make it through. Here coming into Group C, we do have, I believe that's Tsukinu, right? Hold on. Sorry, no, that's Nanyu. God damn it! I got it right last time. There's Nanyu, so Nanyu does advance on alongside. I thought it was gonna be Nanyu and Migi, but no, it's gonna be Nanyu and Le Shengling, a player I'm not quite familiar with. And then we had Silky, and that's Millennium Fox. 100%. I remember I was assuming Millennium Fox would make it through in first place, but yep. So Silky and Millennium Fox, they make it through alongside Nanyu. Alongside Nanyu and his Terran opponents as well. Oh, we had Jolly Loves and Nanami Chiaki. We had Kingslayer and Shafei, and Sarah Kerrigan. But where is Tsukino? Did he end up in last place? Yeah, Tsukino actually made it last place in Group B. Okay, I mean, with Nanami Chiaki and Jolly Loves, that was a rough group. Yeah, Tsukino does go down. And we have our top players. Let's go. We have our top 8. We do have our seeding coming in. We have Kingslayer versus Millennium Fox. We have Jolua Loves versus Nanyu. We do have Silky versus Sarah Kerrigan. And we have... God, I keep forgetting. Oh, sorry, I think that's Nanami. Yeah, Nanami versus... Zhangling. There we go, Zhangling. Okay. So who do we favor? So coming into the round of 8, Silky is going to be favored against Sarah Kerrigan, 100%. I would say that Silky might even win the entire thing. Like, Silky has been the most in form out of all this. Kingslayer versus Millennium Fox is going to be a hard one to call. I do lean towards Kingslayer, but I also am very excited to see Millennium Fox do well. He's a very young player, very young up-and-comer, and I do want him to excel, do want him to do well for himself. So best of luck. Best of luck. We then have Jolo Loves versus Nanyu. I do lean towards Nanyu in that series more so than Jolo Loves. Jolo Loves has been leaving a little bit much to be desired when it comes to his recent play amongst the other top like Protoss players, referring to Rewhite or referring to Nanami Chiaki, Lemon. Speaking of, we then have Nanami Chiaki up against his opponent as well, and going to be leaning more towards Nanami Chiaki for sure. But yeah, best of luck. Best of luck. Going to be best of 5s in the quarterfinals, into the semis, into the grand finals. Best of luck. Best of luck. I think the series I'm looking forward to the most is probably going to be Kingslayer versus Millennium Fox. I do think that's going to be the closest one and the hardest one to call, but we'll see. We'll see. Best of luck. That leads us into the Rising Star Cup number 1. Okay. Not to be confused with the OSC Elite Rising Star. True. I thought we were already there.
Yeah, the moment I saw the name, I was like, yeah, that's not gonna be confusing at all.
Yep. Another Chinese event. Again, just to reemphasize and just to validate what we said earlier, how the Chinese scene has so many tournaments for up-and-comers, for younger players, for the collegiate scene, and for the just regular pros as well. This is the Rising Star tournament. I'm uncertain if there's any restrictions to this event, but there shouldn't be because we have some veterans here. Ooh, okay. We had Silky, SCV, Miggy, Cyan. We had Smile, Kingslayer, and I believe that is Nanyu alongside Millennium Fox. Yep. So Nanyu is the Zerg player. Millennium Fox is the Terran that did go up against Smile. Beautiful. So coming into this, SCV took down Silky 2-1. I will call that an upset for sure. Like, Silky, I would favor against SCV more the majority of the time. So to see SCV take down Silky is a crazy result. Likewise, I would favor Cyan against SCV as well. SCV popped off. That's crazy. Took down Silky and Cyan. Those are the favorite players to win the entire tournament. So SCV does advance on to the grand finals to face off against Millennium Fox. Millennium Fox took down Smile 2-0, took down Nanyu 3-0. Very impressive. And did fall to SCV, but did pose a threat, did take some 2 games. But SCV did win the entire event. Very impressive. In my mind, SCV was always flying under the radar. I would say that SCV was, below players like Cyan, Rewhite, Nami Chiaki, behind a bunch of these other top Protoss players. Potato, or I should say Young Zest. I'll say he was behind Young Zest, behind Jolua Loves. But for him to defeat both Silky and Cyan and Millennium Fox, that is crazy. GG. GG well played. Very impressive play by SCV. Very impressive. Meanwhile, Millennium Fox comes in second place, and then we have Cyan taking down Nanyu 3-0 to come in third. So congratulations to Cyan for third place, and Millennium Fox for second. That leads us into Legacy Weekly Japan. This is our weekly Japanese tournament. So where is Tapioca? Where is Tapioca? This is the Open Cup, and there's no Boba. There's no Tapioca. There's no Boba here. Did not sign up this week, so did not win. Allowing some of the other players to have a chance, and Crimson popped off. Every now and then, Crimson does well. Shout out to Crimson, by the way. Crimson does stream on Twitch quite often, and we've actually rated Crimson a couple of times. I remember that I was like, oh, I watch you in Legacy Weekly Japan. Good luck. And he's like, oh, you watch, or you know me from there. I was like, thank you. Like, he was very surprised when we mentioned that. But Crimson, he took down Sayak 2-1, took down Entaro Example 2-1, who actually beat Vaishravanya. Oh, that's crazy. Vaishravanya's favored 100 to win the entire tournament, actually. So, yeah, Vaishravanya knocked down early on by Entaro. Meanwhile, Akira took down Hirikui, took down some of the other players that I'm a little bit less familiar with. And Crimson takes down Akira 2-1 in the finals. So GG well played. Big win there by Crimson. Not the first win, but Crimson, he's often not really one that does make it to the finals too often, to be honest. Is often overshadowed by Vaishravanya, by players like Deadlykin and players like Tapioca as well. So GG. GG well played. Congratulations to Crimson. That leads us into the Basilisk Big Brain Bass number 104. This is your weekly show match series. We had the Basilisk one, the fun one, and the good one. Here we go. So for the fun one, we had Lewis versus Jay in a TVZ best of 5. Jay took down Lewis 3-1. Congratulations to our Canadian Zerg player Jay, who does often play in the Pickers Recover example. Then we had the good one, Percival versus Geralt, and I would have favored Percival in that series. Percival, he took down Classic recently, like he pops off in TVP, but he struggles here against Geralt, and this might be an indication of Geralt's form coming into HomeStory Cup. True. So big win there for Geralt, 3-0 over Percival, and that leads us into the best of 5, Cyril versus MaxPax, the Basilisk one. Big win from MaxPax. Cyril wins he takes the lead 2-0 initially in the series, and then MaxPax wins 3 games in a row. Tourmaline, Ruby Rock, and the Old Republic. I would love to have seen those games. A big win there for MaxPax. Very impressive play. GG. GG well played. As when was the last time MaxPax beat Cyril? Unironically, hold on. Let's double check that. Has he ever? Is that a first? Hold on, I'm checking. Okay, so the last time MaxPax beat Cyril was in Little League Cup. Okay, Little League Cup Grand Finals, the 2024 Grand Finals, and before that, Mass Coliseum. Wow, they rarely play against each other. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because MaxPax, he's very, very active when it comes to the online tournament scene. Cyril is not. Cyril, he does not play in the online tournaments, so they rarely play against each other. So congratulations to MaxPax. He does beat Cyril 3-2 initially, and again, he did win a couple of times against Cyril last year as well. And Master Coliseum in the League Cup, the Grand Finals, and in the Basilisk Big Bang Bouts number 80 as well. GG. GG, well played. So congratulations to MaxPax, to Jay, and to Geralt. As that leads us into our OC events here for the week. That leads us into the OC Championship number 13. Do we have a champion? We do. We do have our champion here. I remember going over this, actually. Hero takes down Clem 3-2, takes down Classic 3-2 in another ace match, and takes down Classic in the finals 4-2. Although it doesn't quite go to the ace match, but a very, very intense series nonetheless. Clem, he got knocked out by Classic 3-2 in the lower bracket finals. Now, Hero has won every major tournament in the past 2 months, right? Like Hero, he won RSL, the offline events, in December. So Hero won RSL, Hero, he won Thunderfire, true. Hero, he won the OSC Championship number 13. And we will be going, I mean, the Rongyi Cup, we still have yet to kind of go over that as well, but he's also one of the favorites for Rongyi Cup as well. So Hero, he has won all the big major events in the past 2 months. And yeah, it's looking terrifying. It's the Hero. And again, it wasn't easy. Hero, he beat Clem, Classic, and Classic once again. So congratulations here to Hero for claiming the win and for becoming this year's 2025's OC champion. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the OC, the Elite Rising Star number 17.5. We did cover day 1 of this event. Again, this is a bit of a different tournament. Usually the OSC Elite Rising Star tournaments are double elimination, but this time single elimination. And also, if you remember, I did actually pose a question as to why Percival wasn't competing here. Percival, he's usually one of the big contenders for this event, for at least these events in the past, but Eddie did reach out. He did reach out. He did reach out regarding this, and Eddie, he mentioned that Percival actually is now ineligible because of his recent performances. Like Percival, he's too good. Percival and Nicaract, they both kind of achieved greater accolades in the OSC Championship, so because of that, they are ineligible for the OSC Elite Rising Star tournaments. So that is why I would say Terran is now looking a little bit weaker than previously, because they're missing Nicaract and Percival. They're just too good. They're too good here. So as a result, we're going to be seeing a lot more PvPs, 100%, a lot more. I mean, you already see it here. Jumi versus Creature, Ledlix versus MJG, Shameless versus his next opponents, Mute versus Rebellion. A lot more PvP is going to be happening here. But there's still some strong Zerg representation, especially with the Mini Zerg, the young up-and-comer, and young Yakov, aka Old Yakov. But again, it'll take a while to progress through the brackets and to get through this event. It'll take a couple of weeks, and it is slowly kind of amassing, slowly getting ready. Based on who we currently have here, the two favorite players are going to be Sheamus and Young Yakov to face off in the finals. We'll see who can stop them from meeting in those finals. Best of luck. Best of luck. That leads us into the OSC King of the Hill, weekly number 235. This is a weekly King of the Hill style tournament, basically best of ones. Best of ones, winner stays on, loser is eliminated. Here we have Jumi versus Geralt in the first match. We did have Jumi going on a bit of a win streak, takes down Geralt, takes down Ragnar, but then does quickly fall to Mana. But it's short-lived as Mana gets knocked out by GG Machine. Then Ledlix, okay, Esther, Ledlix takes down GG Machine and immediately as well. And then we have Art beating Ledlix, Eva beating Art, Nickrat beating Eva, and Midway beating... It's been a while since we've seen this. It's very common to have like a solid win streak, right? You get a heavy hitter come in, they go on like 3, 4, 5 game win streak, maybe even more than that. And then it gets broken. It's been a while since we've seen this, where we've just been trading, non-stop trading here, no win streaks. Jumi won 2 games in a row, and so far that is it. As Mana took the game, then GG Machine, then Ledlix, then Art, then Eva, then Nickrat, then Midway. Midway going on a short win streak, beating Sheamus. Big win there for Mindle, very impressive. Then Solo knocks him down, takes down Midway, and then he gets knocked down immediately by Creator, and Creator goes on the longest win streak of the tournament. He takes down Solar, Hydra, and Percival, and out of all players, UED Soldier knocks Creator out. Crazy, baby, crazy. GG, well played. Shout out to UED Soldier for becoming this week's OSC King of the Hill. Congratulations to Creator for having the longest win streak, winning 3 games. Solar, Hydra, and Percival, followed by Jumi, who won 2, and then Midway, who also won 2. So again, really short win streaks here, and UED Soldier being the final champion. That means he gets invited into the next event. Gets invited. That leads us into the Open Cups. We do have our Open tournaments here. Up first is going to be the Berry Patch Open, the first edition, maybe the first of many, hard to say. Oh, that's why it's called the Berry Patch. Apparently, Patches did organize the event. Looks like it was on a custom map pool. Interesting. Yeah, they've got Cenotaph, they've got Lumen, Dream and Scars, so custom map pool here, but with a very nice prize pool, 600 USD. Oh my god, very nice prize pool. Looks like Dave Tesla and Barry Crunch they were casting, and we had some heavy hitters. Maxpax, he does take down Jimmy 2-1, takes down Nickrat 2-1, takes down Solar 2-0, and takes down Solar in the rematch as well. Maxpax winning the entire tournament 2-1 over Solar. Best of 3 finals. It's kind of weird. Best of 3 finals here. A little bit odd, as we often do not have such a short series for the finals. Meanwhile, we had Björn. He went down to Solar earlier. Björn took down Geralt, went down to Solar, and went down and got knocked out by Art of all players. Very nice done. Very nicely done here as Art, the Russian Protoss, takes down Björn in the lower bracket semis. Then, of course, Solar takes down Art, and then Maxpax takes down Solar. So, yeah, really cool events. I don't know if we're going to get more of this. I don't know if this is a one-off event or if they plan on organizing more. It is interesting that they did have a custom map pool that also does kind of impact some of these games. I will say it's a bit of a shame that the finals was a best of 3 instead of a best of 5. I feel like for the finals, you typically do want a little bit more there. It looks like they did make it a shorter series just because they were going to have a rematch series if Solar did win. But I still feel like a best of 5 does make a little bit more sense here, especially with the lower bracket being best of 1s for the most part, right? It's like the lower bracket shouldn't be progressing too slowly. But regardless, GG will play the Max. That leads us into the What It To Be Monday number 71. Here we do have a Hero. Hero, he does go on a tear. He takes down Sheamus 2-0, takes down Solar 2-0, takes down Shin 2-0, and the faces off against Classic in the finals. Looks like we're missing some of our... No, we're not. I was going to say we're missing regulars. Shin took down Clem. I was like, where's Clem? Where's Max? Max did not sign up. No, sorry, he did. Wait, what? Sorry, it looks like he got knocked out in the round of 32. Double checking here. Where's Max? Oh, he got he got 2-0 by Cristiano, papi. Ay. Wait, am I looking at the correct tournament? 71. Yeah. Okay, so Cristiano, he took down MaxPax 2-0 at the very beginning of the broadcast. So MaxPax, again, I would say that MaxPax PvP is currently his worst matchup. That has been the case for like a year at this point. So PvP is where he does struggle the most. That's why we've seen Trigger take down MaxPax. Why we've seen even here Cristiano take him down as well. So Cristiano takes down MaxPax 2-0, takes down Harsum 2-0. Shin took down Clem 2-1. Big win there for Shin. But Shin does fall in the semis to Hero. In the upper brackets, we did have Bjorn. Bjorn took down Cure. But he did fall to Classic. We had Nickrat take down Geralt, take down Showtime. Again, Nickrat, he has some crazy TVP. I want to say he even took a map off of MaxPax in the Berry patch event as well. So Nickrat, TVP is his wheelhouse. That is his best matchup. That's where he causes upsets. 2-0 Showtime, 2-1 Geralt, takes a map off of MaxPax, but does fall to Classic. Then we had that PvP finals once again. And again, Hero and Classic, they play so often in the finals. We saw them in the finals of the RSL tournament. We saw them in another recent finals. Or we saw them in the finals of the OSC Championship number 13. And now we're seeing them in the finals here as well. And Hero once again defeats Classic barely 3-2. I should also emphasize that every single time that Hero beats Classic, it's always close, right? Classic and Hero, they went to the Ace match in RSL. That went all the way up to Game 6 in the OSC Championship, and here they went all the way up to Game 5 in the finals of the Water TV Monday. GG. GG well played here to Hero, does claim the win. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies, number 38. That was later on that evening. Here it looks like no Hero. It looks like Hero went to bed. Hero went to bed, Classic went to bed. A lot of the Koreans did not stay up for this, actually. No Solar either. Yeah, so very low Korean representation in this tournament. We have Bjorn and Percival, and that's it. When usually you have like Bunny, Cure, Solar, Classic, Hero. But not this week. Not this week. As we did have Clem, and Clem, he goes on a tear. Jesus, Clem, now that there's no Shin, now that there's no other Korean obstacles ahead of him, he takes down Lelix 2-0, Mana 2-0, Showtime 2-0, MaxPax 2-1, and Showtime 2-1. So big win there for Clem as he does breeze his way through. Did drop a couple of maps here and there to MaxPax and Showtime, but does come out on top. This is kind of what we expect out of Clem. Meanwhile, MaxPax, he did have a strong performance himself. He was able to take down Percival 2-1, take down Beyond 2-0, but did fall to Showtime in the lower bracket finals. As you mentioned, MaxPax currently his PvP does leave much to be desired. That is kind of like where he does struggle the most here, and Showtime does bring him down. GG. Congratulations there to Showtime, as he does come out in second place. Does come out in second place. That leads us into the Bigger Cup number 66. Here we're missing some people once again. No MaxPax, no Clem. No Hero, no Classic. Oh. To be fair, for this event, nah, I was going to say it's possible that maybe players are flying and traveling to Krefeld, but this is on the 27th. Like it feels a little bit too early to be traveling for the weekend event. But we are missing a bunch of players. We're missing a bunch of players here. But in the end, we did have Bjorn. And Bjorn takes down the Wayman 2-0, takes down Nice 2-0, takes down Cham 3-2, went all the way to the Ace match. Oh my god, este Cham. Cham, he went to the Ace match against Jay, did win the series, went to the Ace match against Shameless, won the series, and went to the Ace match against Bjorn, but does barely fall to the Terran. As Bjorn makes it to the finals. Meanwhile, were there any other upsets here in the lower bracket? We did have Lemon 2-0's Creator. Ooh, Creator, he was favored to make it to the finals, I would say. Creator, he was meant to make it to the finals, but Lemon takes down Creator 2-0, and then Percival has a much easier time in the semifinals. He 2-0's Young Yakov, he 3-0's Lemon, and then he goes to the Ace match against Bjorn. Again, Percival, his TVT has been improving so much. We have seen Percival defeat Bjorn before, and to see him go to the Ace match against Bjorn here just emphasizes the fact that he has been improving heavily in the TVT matchup. I would say that right now, Percival, his weakest matchup is TVZ. Like his turn versus Zerg is where we have seen him mess up a little bit more and where we have seen him struggle. But against Terran and Protoss, that is where he does excel, for sure. But GG. GG well played. Congratulations to Bjorn. Shout out to Percival, and a special shout out to both Lemon and Cham to making it into the top 3 and 4 places. GG. GG well played. That leads us into Rongyi Cup Season 3. This event is still ongoing. Bear that in mind. The event is still ongoing. We did cast the group stage on this channel, and we casted day 1 of the playoffs, but we still have day 2 and day 3. Day 2 and day 3 of the playoffs are still looking to go through. There's still more to go, still more to progress. So we'll be catching up with the playoffs and the finale of this event in the future. Again, unfortunately, we still have to catch up on some of these broadcast days, and we will do so throughout the course of the next week or so. For now, though, the group stage, we had Group A, Hero, Trigger, Bjorn, and Rogue. I was leaning a little bit towards Hero and Bjorn here, but again, Trigger has been on point, and Trigger, he barely does make it through 2-1 over Bjorn. So congratulations to Hero and Trigger making it through into the playoffs. Group B, we had Clem and Showtime. Clem and Showtime, they do come out on top. I was hoping that Bunny would do well here, but Bunny, he did struggle. Likewise, Zan has been less active, and we have Clem and Showtime, our two foreigners, making it out of Group B. Group C, we had Creator, Classic, Shin, and Percival. In my mind, I was leaning towards Classic and Shin, but Creator, he popped off here. Creator took down Shin 2-1, took down Classic 2-0. Strong showing there by Creator, and Classic alongside him. Then we had Group D. Group D, we had Solar, Maru, Cyan, and Christianer. Here we had, I would say that one of the highlight series of the tournament so far has been Solar versus Maru. I do highly recommend the VOD. It was a crazy best of 3, and Solar did take down Maru 2-0, took down Christianer 2-0. Solar comes out in first place. Maru comes out in second place. So we had our top 8. We had our top 8, Hero, Trigger, Clem, Showtime, Solar, Maru, Creator, and Classic, leading into the playoffs. Again, the playoffs are still ongoing. The event has still yet to conclude. The finals will be offline in China, bear that in mind, and we only got to cast day 1 of the playoffs. We'll be covering day 2 and day 3, and of course the finals in the coming days, in the coming weeks. I did mention earlier that unfortunately we have just been less available when it comes to our schedules, just because of everything that's been going on IRL. Hopefully coming to February and March, we should be able to catch up again and get back into our regular casting schedule. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Oh. But again, we do have our next kind of big event that is ongoing here that is soon to wrap up. It's been a really busy start of the year, actually, with Rongyi Cup, with Thunderfire, with HomeStory Cup as well, with the overseas championships. It's just been a very, very intense January coming into February. And there's a lot of StarCraft. As always, a lot of StarCraft is going on. I should emphasize that as well. I know there's been a little bit of doomer like a doomer vibe going on amongst some of the people in the community, just because of what's been happening with EWC. But as we emphasized last week, right now is the most important time to step up for ourselves, for viewers, for tournament organizers, for everyone involved when it comes to supporting StarCraft, when it comes to doing our part, casting, broadcasting, playing, competing, watching, supporting. It's going to be a very, very important year for StarCraft. And as always, there's a lot going on. A lot of StarCraft. Otherwise, if you want to take part in some of these events, if you want to sign up and compete, you can do so via the sign up list, sign up list in the chat, to compete in the KSL this weekend. True, we have the KSL this weekend. We have the Ladder Legends open event as well. We have Legacy Weekly Japan, all the amateur weeklies, the Monday night weeklies, What Is Your Monday, PondCast Cup. I will also emphasize that Tuna Cup has been on a bit of a hiatus, but that is because we have been unavailable. Because of what's been happening with our pet bunnies, with all the vet visits, with all the operations, like I just have not been available, have not been reliably available for a Tuna Cup, but it should be coming back soon, TM. Soon, TM, in the upcoming weeks, we'll be bringing back a Tuna Cup alongside all of our regular tournaments. Will be coming back. And if you want to support us as well, you can do so via Patreon. Patreon in the chat. You can support our tournaments. You can support Tuna Cup, Sea Duckling Open, and Masters One Open, all via Patreon. As I mentioned before, the month of January has been very inconsistent for our tournament, so I do apologize. January has been very, very messy, but we should be able to bring it all back coming in towards February. So again, if you want to support our tournaments, you can do so via Patreon. You can help us grow our tournaments and boost our prize pools and help us even get into monthly finals as well. You can help us. You can help us out via Patreon. Likewise, if you maybe see some of the events here tonight, and if you want to watch them and watch the VODs, YouTube, YouTube in the chat. Our YouTube is set up with all of our VODs. It's all there on YouTube. The Rongyi Cup VODs, the Tuna Cups, the What Is Be Mondays, PondCast Cups, all on YouTube. We do have a lot of catching up to do. I did mention that we have a massive backlog of replays to cast for a lot of these tournaments, and again, we should be getting through them throughout the course of February and March. We'll eventually catch up. Eventually, we'll catch up with all the VODs, with all the replays, with all the casting that we have to do. We'll get there. We will get there. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Again, when it comes to the next podcast, we're most likely going to be going over HomeStory Cup probably actually. But we do still have to go through some of the interviews that our toasters and tasters had for the esports awards. We've been pushing it back a little bit, but we should be getting back into it. Likewise, we'll be keeping you updated when it comes to the StarCraft miniatures game. A lot of fun. I'm very, very excited for the StarCraft miniatures game. I'm really curious to see how it does pan out, how it does play out, and curious to get my hands on some of those miniatures. Actually play the game, Pappy. Actually play the game. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. Again, look forward to HomeStory Cup. We won't be casting it this weekend, but that's going to be the big event over the weekend. HomeStory Cup, 3 days of intense premier StarCraft action. Do support it. Do check it out. Check it out. Check it out over the weekend. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Shout out to Kuro for handling the production side of things, and we'll see you guys next time. Ciao. Bye. Ciao. See you next time.